Hi everyone, tonight we're here with Royston Lester, the Student Government Association's 2025 to 2026 president.
Hello everyone, my name is Royston Lester and I'm so happy to be here to talk with you guys and give you guys a little insight about my plans for next semester.
Royston, tell us how you're feeling being elected this president.
I am so excited. I feel ecstatic to work with the students. I feel excited to work with the new board. I feel like transformative leadership is really on the horizon, and I'm really excited to be a part of that transformation, and I'm excited to see how many students we can positively impact with this new administration. So I'm beyond ecstatic to serve in this position. It is something that I like doing. It's what I've been doing for the past few years, so I'm just really excited to start implementing some new things on campus.
That's amazing. Would you be able to tell us about the promises that you've made students that you're looking forward to upholding?
Yes. So I ran my campaign on a few key points: transformative leadership, inclusive leadership, and collaborative leadership. A lot of that trickles down to action and community building as well. But what I really want to do is to unify our campus. We have so many institutions and so many organizations on campus that act singularly. They act in opposition to each other sometimes, it feels like. And a lot of those goals and values that those institutions and organizations and even clubs uphold are similar. So I've never really understood why it is so separated. And we feel so separated on campus. We have a lot of small pocket events happening in different parts of campus. One of the things that I'm really excited to uphold that I spoke about in my campaign leading up to this position is that collaborative leadership and bringing those organizations together, seeing what resources we can share, seeing what ideas we can gain from each other, what voices are in your organizations that are not being represented in mine, what voices are SGA not advocating for because we cannot reach that part of your organization, which students are not being reached, which students need some more empowerment to just feel like as a student I have a voice on campus. So I'm really excited to work with my team because they are brilliant, amazing individuals who all have big plans for this university. And I'm excited to see how that flourishes and how we flourish in collaboration with other offices. And ultimately, that will lift, I feel like, the campus climate of the University of Hartford to higher heights. So I'm really excited for that.
Amazing. And what big change, if any, do you foresee for this upcoming year?
Biggest change that I'm foreseeing right now, and a lot of things are still in the planning stages. I still have to meet with the board, I have to talk with more offices, but one of the biggest change that I can promise right now is that SGA's weekly meetings, our House of Representative meetings, where we talk about planning, we talk about events coming up, we talk about what resolutions we want to pass, what programming that the school is doing that we want to collaborate with or not collaborate with. Let's say the school makes a statement, does SGA stand behind this statement or not? All of that happens in our weekly meetings. And the biggest change I'm going to make to that weekly meeting going in as the new president is to open that to the student body. I want to have these meetings in a place that is accessible to all students. So maybe one of the popular buildings on campus, GSU, North and South Cafe, has a lot of traffic. A lot of people know where that is. So maybe one of those rooms, and having that meeting be an open space where students can come in, they can just listen, simply listen to what we're doing, or they can contribute to it. They can say, oh, well, I know this from my organization. I have this idea, or I have this concern. What can SGA do to help? I want us to work as a community, and our student body is a part of SGA, and it's a part of that community. So the plan, or the idea behind this plan, is to bring the community into SGA, and then to bring SGA into the community. So 2 parts. And that 2-part plan, the first part is, like I just mentioned, opening all our meetings, having that transparency with the student body, let them know what we're doing each week, because there's a lot of information coming out. There's a lot of things in the media right now, especially with our current political climate, and students feel a sense of uncertainty on campus. They don't know what their student leaders are doing. They don't know what admin is doing. They don't know what faculty is doing. We are going to attempt to bridge that or to eliminate that sense of uncertainty by having our meetings be open. SGA has a special connection to faculty and admin where we can share insight at our meetings to the student body. So every week they have that knowledge or they have that opportunity to come in and speak to us directly. The second part of that plan, which is bringing SGA into the community, would be outsourcing. In the weeks that we don't have a weekly meeting, we will be going out to other club meetings, going out to other organization meetings, whatever committee meetings might be happening. For instance, with admin and faculty, they have certain faculty senates every week. We have a lot of networks and new networks like the Amplifying Indigenous Voices Network happening. They do weekly meetings. So a lot of weekly meetings are happening in different areas on campus. And I want to outsource SGA into those meetings. So they have firsthand knowledge. They are in the community. They're listening to people. People know who they are. They know what they're doing. And there's a sense of community building in those small pockets. I believe that once we outsource our SGA and we're going into each of these communities, it's so much easier for us to bring all of that together because an SGA member is in every part of the UHART campus. It's my dream for us to act as an extension of the admin board and also as an extension of the student voice. So that is one of the biggest changes I want to make, and I feel like that will ensure that a lot of our programming and a lot of our initiatives after that go ever so smoothly. And SGA usually hosts town halls once a semester for students to come in and talk about their concerns, and we'll still have these town halls. However, your concerns will be heard from the beginning of my term all the way until the end, and not just 2 times in that year. So that is my biggest plan for SGA next year.
And I think it's fabulous change. I'm sure it will be very comforting for students to have now the opportunity to come in weekly to hear and listen what SGA has going on. And I wanted to talk about the letter that is big in news right now, sent by the U.S. Department of Education to educational institutions that receive federal funding, notifying them that they must cease using race preferences and stereotypes as a factor in their admissions, hiring, promotion, compensation, scholarships, prizes, administrative support, sanctions, discipline, and beyond. It was written that if institutions fail to comply, they will face investigation and can face losing their federal funding. We know it has become very popular in the news that Harvard has openly decided to work against this letter and has accepted that they will no longer be federally funded. Alan Garber, the president of Harvard University, spoke out and even said, quote, "No government, regardless of which party is in power, should dictate what private universities can teach, whom they can admit and hire, and which areas of study and inquiry they can pursue." The University of Hartford also receives federal funding for various programs, from research initiatives to financial aid programs. And the University of Hartford website explicitly says that they welcome diverse individuals without regard to race, ethnicity, national origin, sex, gender identity or expression, age, economic status, ability, learning disabilities, or physical ability, sexual orientation, religious creed, or veteran status. So, Royston, what do you think? Do you think President Trump's crackdown on DEI will affect the University of Hartford?
I think President Trump crackdown on DEI will affect all college students across the board, regardless of their college or specific college affiliation. However, for the University of Hartford, I don't think it will affect us that much if SGA is working the way that I would like it to work next semester. So one of the little insights I will give is that before President Trump got into power, in anticipation that he might win and crack down on DEI, what our newly elected University of Hartford President Ward did was he changed a lot of the verbiage from diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice to inclusive excellence and belonging. Now, this was a strategic move to find a loophole in those federal mandates saying that you can't have this in your schools because we will take away your funding. Now, the word inclusive excellence still is a trigger word for Trump and his administration, but it provides us a little more safeguard so that that federal funding doesn't get cut. And while I agree with the president of Harvard, that the government, regardless of which position is in power, should not be telling private schools or private universities what they can teach, what they can research on. Our university, I know for sure, needs that funding. So what I was really happy to know about, or to just realize, is that that was a strategic tactic that President Ward did to ensure that we are still receiving that federal funding and that DEI is still alive on campus. My role that I would like to play as SGA president and bringing the SGA body with me is to hold the university accountable. We have a special connection to admin. We have a special connection to the president of the university. We have a special connection to Board of Regents, to provost, all of these impactful people who can make change on campus and who decide at the end of the day what that impact will look like on students. I want to break that up a little, and I want to ensure that SGA and the voices of the students are a part of that decision making. SGA as an advocacy group will always advocate for inclusive leadership and for DEI to be at the forefront of all university sanction, all university leadership. We will always advocate for DEI to be there. So it is our duty and it is our job to hold the university accountable and ensure that their commitment to DEIJ remains, regardless of what name changes might come or what other changes they might make to ensure that that federal funding is not cut, or whether or not they decide that, you know what, we're just going to let it go away and we're going to keep our commitment to DEI. Regardless of what decision comes down from admin and trickles down from Board of Regents, SGA will always advocate for DEI to be at the forefront of that leadership. And if it is not, there's certain steps that we can take. The first thing that I'm anticipating to do is to simply collaborate. Have those meetings. I want student voices from different parts of campus to be in that decision making and share that student experience, because ultimately when these things are passed down, it's the students that are affected the most, and it's the students that are paying to be here, so the student voices should be prioritized, and I want to ensure that happens. If that is something that doesn't happen, SGA has made a lot of changes on campus. SGA has changed meal plans. We have changed hours for different stores on campus. And in speaking with a lot of people during my transition, I'm realizing SGA has so much more power and there's so much more we can do if we utilize the resources we have. Now, let's say that prior conversation about whether or not you can make this decision based on the student experiences and what the students want to see on campus. Let's say that doesn't happen. SGA has the power to go to the media. SGA has the power to do protests. We did protests last year. SGA has the power to mobilize in different ways to ensure the university hears us and is actually planning action around our requests or around the things that we want to see, we rightfully want to see, because we're the ones paying to be here. So that would be my plan for combating Trump's administration in a sense. And then a larger plan for that would be to see how SGA, just on campus, can collaborate with off-campus advocacy groups or other college advocacy groups. This way we can bring even more voices at this table. We can bring even more voices into this charge, even more resources, so that we can unify and properly combat these things that Trump is trying to, implement onto students, because it is strictly not right. It is not the kind of leadership that I want to see growing up in. It's not the kind of leadership I came here to experience. And I know that that's the same for a lot of other students. We have an international student center here as well. And I am sure that they have ideas, and I'm sure they have resources. I'm sure those students are feeling a little uncertain about whether or not they can stay on campus, their jobs, what will employment look like next year. So we want to bring in all of those people. Okay, what is your opinion on this? What is your perspective on this? What resources does your office offer that we can be transparent to the student about? That is another thing that I really want to uphold: transparency during this time, because uncertainty breeds panic. And if there is transparency in that process, we can eliminate some of that panic. Now, obviously, SGA can't stop what the government is doing, but we can control the campus climate of the University of Hartford, and that is what I plan to do with my team.
Well, it is refreshing to hear you speak so confidently about SGA being able to create that change. Lastly, I wanted to mention Connecticut Insider and their recent post mentioning, quote, at least 53 people have had their visas terminated at colleges and universities across Connecticut as part of a nationwide wave of visa revocations by the Trump administration. They also mentioned that 13 came from the University of Connecticut and 4 came from Yale University. And the rest came from private colleges and universities in the state. While University of Connecticut is close to us and a private university, or Yale's a private university just like us, what do you as SGA president think about these recent findings? And again, while being the voice for students around you, have you heard of any noise or worry of this coming to the University of Hartford?
I'm very and deeply disheartened for those students because I feel the pain that lingers there, and I feel that injustice that is being implemented on those students. And similarly to what I mentioned in the last response about the International Student Center, I really want to work closely with that center and to work closely with admin to see how we can protect and safeguard our students on campus, since we are a private university. I feel as though we have a lot of resources. Admin has legal framework, they have lawyers, they have donors, sponsors. I want to utilize everything that we can on campus to safeguard our students, because the things that are paying for all these people to be in their positions, or the things that are paying for all these organizations to stand upright, are students. It's our tuition, and our voices should be prioritized. We should not have instances where parts of our campus community is being disproportionately marginalized or disproportionately affected negatively by the Trump administration. We have too many offices on campus and too many resources for us to let these students just slide under the radar and whatever happens, happens. SGA, like I mentioned, acts as a liaison between faculty, admin, and students. So in that advocacy, I plan on working with the International Student Center, working with admin to simply share that experience. You know, students are feeling disheartened by this. Students are feeling concerned. What will my visa look like? Am I going to be able to graduate college here? A lot of students uprooted their entire lives just to come here to the University of Hartford, and there's value in that. There's so much value and potential in that, and we have to protect it, especially as student government. I also feel deeply towards this topic because I am also an international student. I don't have an international student visa, but I came here as a first-generation immigrant. Just 3 months after landing here, I came to the University of Hartford. So I know what that must feel like for a student leaving their country to come here and then being told, well, actually, you're not going to be able to complete college and we're going to send you back. So my plan is to always work closely with these offices. One of the initiatives that the university launched last year was the Campus Climate Education Response Team. I think I said that right. And this team was an extension of a project that I brought to the dean's office called the Campus Harmony Initiative. This initiative spoke about having real-time information being processed and sent out to students about what's happening globally, what's happening with our government, what's happening locally for Connecticut, so that students are always aware of what their rights are, what legislations can affect them, what they can do to combat those legislations. So similarly to working with the International Student Center, I'd like to work with that team as well. SGA president sits as a student voice, so I'll be right there in connection with them to know and to let them know about these experiences that students are having. Because I've heard a few so far lingering around on campus. I haven't been everywhere just just yet to get, everyone's voices in all parts of campus. But for what I'm feeling and from what I'm hearing from my members in SGA and other communities that I'm a part of, people are really uncertain. They're uncertain, and there's a lot of concern about whether or not I'll be able to finish, whether or not my friends can finish, whether or not people close to me in the same clubs with me, people in the same classroom as me, whether or not these people and their rights will be respected here on campus. So I really want to uphold and hold that emotion because it is valued, and I want to use that to create a transformation in how we try to combat the Trump administration, because it's really the lived experiences of the students and the lived experiences of the people, prospective students looking into the University of Hartford, that can really open your mind to these new laws and how negatively it can really impact someone's life and their future. So that is my plan, and that is what I've been hearing from students. There's a lot of uncertainty, and this uncertainty has loomed for a few months after Trump's administration, even before that with other global events. And I'm trying to combat that uncertainty with transparency. And I understand that there's limits to what the university can do. There's limits to what SGA can do. There's limits to what kind of federal funding we might receive in the future. But the students need to know this. The students need to always be up to date into what the university is planning to do and what the university can or cannot do. And if there's things the university cannot do, then SGA will step in and be like, okay, so why can't you do that? And why can't you do this if it's in the best interest of your students here?
All right, well, thank you for sharing with us all the plans that you have
pleasure.
to come. To end on a lighter note, I wanted to ask you if there was one campus tradition that you could create for future generations to have continuously on, what would that be?
I thought about having a hawk march through the streets of Hartford. Like I mentioned, we have a lot of organizations. We have a lot of great clubs on campus. We could do a parade through the city of Hartford, letting everyone know just how much talent, just how much resources, just how much creativity and innovation we have from our students on campus. That way, we can have outside donors, outside sponsors see us, we can have community leaders see us, and they can help us with so much more. This would also be like an act of community service and giving back to Hartford, or Hartford pouring into the university, because simply seeing the work that people are putting in and what we're offering might just ignite that flame, and people make, you know what, let me donate some more to UHart, or let me donate some more to this specific club who wants to do all these things, who has all these big aspirations. Because the University of Hartford is right in the middle of West Hartford, I believe. So it would be such a great idea, I think, for us to go out to that community, let students know that, or not let students, let the residents of Hartford know that University of Hartford students are doing work. Like, we're putting in the work. Some of us are working overtime. There's great talent here. There's great innovation here. And how can we spread this to the rest of Hartford so that not only you guys can see what we're doing, you can help contribute to what we're trying to put forward. You can come to more of our events. It's kind of like opening your doors, because there's so much more opportunities that I feel like are not taken advantage of because we're not seen or we're not as visible. So it's making more UHart students visible. It'll also be like a fun parade, a fun tradition we can do every year. We'll have Howie the Hawk at the forefront of it. I'm sure it will be a great time and it'll be beneficial. So that's one of the programs. Hopefully that might be implemented soon.
Maybe that sounds like a lot of fun, and maybe the Hart School could be right in the front.
Right?
The music is playing.
Yes. Like I mentioned, talent. You have a lot of talent here.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you for joining us, Royston. This has been Amanda Simmons and Royston Lester. Have a good night, everyone.